Welcome back to week 4 and the educational PowerPoint that I have prepared for you this week is talking a little bit more about pain and where this pain signal comes from. What is pain? Is it all coming from my head? What involvement does the brain have in meaning that my back pain is returning, is staying, is getting worse? Which is causing you to have this lack of confidence in your back, quite rightly so. So you have this lack of confidence because your brain has associated a meaning to the signal it's getting from your back, and therefore meaning that you start to create different thought processes which lead to different actions around the health of your spine. Joseph Pilates said, your spine is inflexibly stiff at 30, if your spine is inflexibly stiff at 30, you are old. If it is completely flexible at 60, you are young. And you are only as young as your spinal column is flexible. So let's talk about stress and the impact that stress can have on your back pain. Stress is an umbrella term for a variety of different symptoms, okay? And like we said in week 2, pain is just another word for French bread. Stress is a word used to describe a variety of symptoms, okay? And it's a word being bandied about more and more and more. But what we're seeing is that there are actually more problems associated with trying to become stress-free than there are just dealing with the stress in itself. I'm going to say that again. We are constantly being told by the media, by the news, by things we read on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and everything. We must reduce our stress. We must reduce our stress. We must create a different lifestyle for ourselves. We must take the stress factors out of the equation. And wouldn't it be nice if we could? But stress is normal. It's completely unavoidable unless perhaps you became a monk, which I'm sure that they still have use the word stress as a word to describe varying symptoms that they're experiencing. We were put on this planet with a fight or flight response in our it's a part of our brain, okay? And we talked about it in a previous week where we talked about this flight or fight response is there from caveman days. It's when that saber-toothed tiger was there and we had to make a decision. Am I going to leg it in the opposite direction, or am I going to fight it and maybe eat it? Okay, so stress is normal. We are designed to cope with stress. And a stress-free life is never going to happen. I'm really sorry to burst that bubble, but a stress-free life is never going to happen. You cannot control somebody cutting you up in the car. You cannot control the decisions that your boss may make. You cannot control the decisions that your children make in the morning. There is a variety of things that you cannot control. How we respond to them, we can control. But stress is a normal factor, okay? It's about how we can control the effects of stress. And one of the big things I want to talk to you about is why, once we've been stressed, do we seem to get more stressed? And it's this sort of catch-22, isn't it? That once you feel it, it starts to get worse in your system and you get this heightened feeling of stress, and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. Now, very often with back pain can come on as a result of stress, whatever that stress might be. But stress, it switches on this fight or flight mechanism, okay, because it's preparing us for war, all right? It's preparing to protect us. So what happens when we experience something of stress? Now, that could be a stressful day at work, it could be somebody cutting you up in the car, it could be somebody trying to steal your purse, it could be in response to what you're reading on the news. Anything that creates that feeling of irritability, anxiety. It increases our blood pressure. We can feel fatigued with it. We can feel low. We can worry. It tenses our muscles. This is the sympathetic nervous system going, okay, I've detected a problem, and I'm going to switch this mechanism on to protect you in case this is a real threat. Now, most of the time, the threat actually isn't there, and what happens is that it just starts to settle, the feeling of stress starts to settle and then diminishes, and we get on with the next job until the next stressor comes along. And then in the other side of it, you've got the parasympathetic nervous system working. This is our relaxation system. This is the system that allows us to feel calmer and less irritable and have more patience. Okay, and the two are working, well, should be working in balance. Now, when we have experienced high levels of stress, our body reacts. Everything we think, our cells react to. So if we are thinking about our back going, or our back not being able to get through a game of golf, or that you can't pick your children up, if you're thinking these things, it is going to cause you to create actions to protect and prevent that problem from happening. Even though it happened 20 years ago, your brain is still telling you, your subconscious brain is still telling you, watch out, that could happen again. Okay? And stress maintains our pain. It can keep us in this heightened stress response. Now, when we're in this fight or flight response, these things happen without you even knowing. We have this dilation of pupils, so we can take in as much information as possible. You might have a drier mouth, your breathing will increase, your heart starts to pound, your muscles tense, your digestion slows down because it diverts the blood to your legs and to your arms to prepare for fight. So that's when we often feel like we're getting indigestion. We might have sweaty palms. You can't control any of these. These all happen as a direct response to a threatening situation or problem. So when the brain receives this information from the area of your back, which is saying, "Oh, be careful, be careful, be careful, don't want to do that again," or that's making your back go into spasm, or that's making your back feel vulnerable, your brain has to switch on that protective mode. Okay, so the amygdala, this blue blob, for want of a better word, in your brain reacts to that threat. Okay? The orange blob goes, okay, yeah, see what's happening here. I'm going to release some adrenaline, and I'm going to release some cortisol, which are these hormones that keep us alert and ready to deal with whatever problem there is. So now we've got these chemicals, these stress chemicals racing around our system, maintaining our back pain, just in case we've got threat there, or we need to protect, or we need to fight, or we need to do something. This is what's happening in your body. And over a period of time, this beautiful balance that we once had as kids, it's gone. We're now living what I call out of your stress system. And this is why we're seeing more and more problems with diabetes, indigestion, musculoskeletal pain, arthritis, because we are living in a system that is inflamed, that is aggravated, that is ready for this fight or flight response all the time. Now, the reason that we're living in this all the time is because to switch the other nervous system on, so there's two nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, stress and rest, okay? Or stress and relax. You stress one, does it automatically for you. Your body doesn't wait for you to go, okay, we need to switch this on now because I'm going to be eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. It just does it automatically for you. The other one, the chill out one, you have to actively switch it on yourself. How many of you have actively switched on your parasympathetic nervous system today, this week, this last month, or this last year? Okay. So the way that we shrink that blue blob that was on the other diagram over here, the way we shrink this blue blob, which reacts to threat and actually gets bigger with the more stress with the more stress that we're aware of and given and dealing with, that blue blob actually grows. So then it's really easy to become stressed easily. To actually reduce that blue blob and reduce those stress hormones that are racing around your body, we have to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system, and we have to do it purposefully. I can't even say that word. Purposefully. There you go. We have to switch it on. And we do that through mindfulness and meditation, another two great buzzwords that are flying about these days, but there is a lot of science behind this. This is a scientifically researched principle that you can actually reduce the size of that blob by switching on your parasympathetic nervous system, so your stress system is reduced, it's less reactive, and pain is maintained by stress. So throughout this program, we are going to introduce you to ways of actively switching on that chill out system. And I'm going to introduce you to some mindfulness techniques. They're not woo-woo, they're not dingy-dangy, you don't have to do it with fancy music and chimes in the background, you don't have to do it with crossed legs and wearing a kaftan or anything crazy like that. I know what you're all thinking. You do this to whatever level you want to do this. It works very differently for everybody. But what I want you to know is that when you're doing this stuff, you're going to be activating your chill out system, which is going to bring your system back into balance, reduce the number of stress hormones that's racing around your body. Stress maintains pain. So you're going to get introduced to some mindfulness recordings by a colleague and an expert in her field of mindfulness and meditation. She's called Fiona Watson. She is a fabulous teacher, and I use her recordings to help me switch my parasympathetic nervous system on at times of stress and worry or anxiety. And she has prepared for you some short recordings that we are going to start encouraging you to be listening to, if you can, once a day. They're going to be really short, 10-minute little recordings, but I promise you is going to make a huge difference. For me, this program is not just about giving you exercises to do. It's not just about giving you stretches that you should be doing. For us to actually make a difference to your back problem on a long-term basis, we have to get you understanding all of the different things that we need to change and improve, and we need to get you ways of doing them easily, even when I'm not on the other side talking you through them and telling you that you have to do them. Okay, so you're going to start to see in your workout schedule some mindfulness links as well, which we're going to encourage you to be using. And remember, stress maintains pain. And whenever we're in that stress response, your back is never ever going to feel as good as it possibly could be. So enjoy your mindfulness sessions. Tune in again next week. We've got some more educational stuff. There's different themes going on every week, lots of stuff for you to learn. Hopefully you're starting to just realise that a lot of what is going on with your back is definitely in your head, but all for the right reason. Okay, it's not to say that you haven't got the problem. The brain is just working overtime and maintaining that stress system so that we can't get that back pain to settle down. It still feels like it needs to protect us.